I'm Aakash Suchak. I'm the Grants and Special Programs Manager at CAA, and I'm here with Eric Segal of the Harn Museum.
It's really a pleasure to have you here, Aakash. We're at the Harn Museum of Art at the University of Florida in Gainesville, Florida, and I'm Director of Education and Curator of Academic Programs here at the museum.
Great. So Eric, the first topic we wanted to talk about today is what strategies and techniques you've used to engage faculty here at the Harn Museum of Art.
Right, well, there's quite a few of those, and stop me if I start running too long. We begin with sort of, I think, our approach, which is to ensure that we're not trying to teach art history to every discipline on campus, because not every discipline on campus needs art history. We are delighted to pursue a rigorous art historical form of inquiry with artists and art historians and humanists for whom that makes good sense, but we also like to think about our collections through a range of perspectives. So my first technique is to sit down with faculty and listen to them and ask them about their syllabus and divine the kinds of themes that they're pursuing and to understand how thinking visually, analyzing the visual, understanding cultural perspectives or ways in which art can embody knowledge, how those can connect up with different disciplines. So a lot of our work with faculty includes conversations that get that going before we even start to introduce their students to the museum. For instance, I was contacted by a faculty in human nutrition to talk with her class on lipid metabolism processes. Something not familiar to me. I may have even mispronounced it just now. So that really required a conversation to understand where lipids meet art museums, which, as it turns out, had to do with the visual expression of research projects and how students could articulate their research projects on lipids graphically.
Great, and I understand you have a faculty focus section here in the Harn Museum.
We do. We have a great program of faculty focus exhibitions which provide for a couple of exhibitions a year in which faculty become curators. Those faculty might be in the art history program or the museum studies program here at the university, but they also come from disciplines such as architecture and entomology and classics and English. So that's a chance for us to really see and share our collections through different perspectives. Frequently those perspectives are connected to, again, faculty's courses. So we had a class taught by a faculty member in classics and a faculty member in English who are working together to explore classical ideals about women and how those continue to reverberate in contemporary English literature. They used our collection, which has a variety of engagements from classical period to contemporary with classical images, sometimes reworked by contemporary artists. They used those works as a touchstone for their class. They could visit it throughout the semester, and it also made a compelling exhibition for our general audience guests.
Yeah, I think that's kind of amazing how the Harn strives to engage with a variety of different disciplines. So in terms of the special exhibitions, I understand you have the Jacob Lawrence show going on currently. So I was wondering how you've sort of involved faculty in engaging with the production and curation of that exhibition in particular.
Right. So the Jacob Lawrence exhibition is a loan exhibition which came to us from the Savannah College of Art and Design. So in some ways the exhibition itself was already curated. We do regularly work with faculty and students and community members on our large-scale exhibitions by forming an advisory committee, and we did so in this case as well. Usually an advisory committee will help in an early stage to shape the conception of the exhibition, maybe responding to a curator's proposed themes, ones which they don't understand or which aren't clearly articulated or don't seem to make sense to either audiences who may be general audiences as members of the advisory committee or experts in fields that might come from the faculty. So we get a really broad range of perspectives from our advisory committees. As I say with the Jacob Lawrence, the exhibition was pretty much formulated, but we also get input and ambassadors for our programs from the advisory committee. The advisory committee will meet several times prior to the exhibition as it's being formed and planned, and they then help us to understand how we can connect with different audiences on campus and off campus.
And can you tell us a little bit about how those advisory committees are comprised? Who primarily takes part in these committees?
Right. So we have it's a 14-member committee, typically 12 to 14, plus museum staff. And it may be a lot of museum staff from education and curators, but our job is to be 85% quiet. And it's really a listening advisory committee, so that then the committee itself is composed of perhaps half community members, perhaps from, if it's a photography exhibition, perhaps from groups that are enthusiastic about photography. With the Jacob Lawrence exhibition, which is works by an African American artist featuring daily life and history of African Americans, we really wanted to reach to the African American community of Gainesville, and that was a really important aspect of our community composition of the advisory committee.
Great.
Then in addition, we have students from the university and docents from the museum and faculty from the university in history, in literature, in the arts, in various fields where they might make use of the exhibition and provide interesting perspectives for us.
Great. Can you tell us a little bit about how the Harn Museum uses drawers of various kinds to sort of exhibit works that students can then come and visit?
Right. So we have a robust program of students from multiple disciplines visiting the museum, and we are able to accommodate those classes in the galleries when there's a theme we need to address to be appropriate for a particular syllabus. We can bring work out from storage. A real problem is for some classes that can't come to the museum because they're on the far side of the campus, and in a 50-minute period, that travel time, a lot of museums face this, they may not be central. A lot of academic museums may not be central to campus. That travel time can eat into the visit. So we have some what I call rapid response display system drawers, which let us, on a short notice, put works of art on view in drawers that students can visit on their own time, pull out and view. They're under glass, so they're safely protected, but students can be sent outside of the class time at a time when they can come during the weekend or late afternoon to study those works of art specifically selected by their faculty members because they relate to their syllabi.
Great. And to conclude this section on engaging faculty, do you have any final remarks as far as your strategies or techniques that might be useful to other academic art museums in the U.S.?
Yeah, I think my colleagues across academic art museums would agree that it's building relationships that's important, building ambassadors, working well with individual faculty members who can then share the success and excitement that they've experienced in using the art museum. We initially began working, for instance, with a faculty member in geriatric physical therapy, and based upon the success of working with his students, which was challenging because it was 90 students on a single visit and requires a lot of management to break them up into small groups. On the success of that, we subsequently worked with a faculty member who works with geriatric physician's assistants. And subsequent to that, we began working with a faculty member who works with medical students in geriatrics on their clerkship rotation. So really that kind of building of relationships of faculty who know each other, who are interested in similar concerns, who can share the success of how looking at an art museum using the art museum as a tool to look at their own concerns can be really effective. That's been a big way in which we've made additional contacts with faculty who found the museum useful.
Great. Thank you very much, Eric. That concludes this portion on engaging faculty in academic art museums.
Thank you, Aakash, and we look forward to our academic museum friends visiting us here in Florida.